ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेमदेवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो हरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. So the book which was shared with you as a PDF when we started this text was this book, Kailasashram book, Mandukya Upanishad. Okay, so this is from, I am reading from this, and I am also going to take part of our Ānandgiri Ṭīkā and part of footnotes also. Bhashya also will read from that. If you see that, you will find that page number U27, where we will be starting today, from mantra number 6. I have given you the gist of 5 mantras, which we have studied before. And here you will see the first, this part is a, it looks a little odd for you, but then this is a mantra. Then this is a Bhashyam. Then this is our Ānandgiri. And then there is a footnote here. So this is what? So sometime I will read footnote, sometime I will read Ratna Prabha. I will tell you, don't worry. I will tell you line number also. So nothing to worry. Okay? Anyway, so let's read first the mantra. Eshaha sarveshwaraha, eshaha sarvagnaha, eshontaryami, eshaha yonihi, sarvasya prabhavapyayo hi bhutanam. The Upanishad introduce 2 inquiries in the first mantra, first 2 mantras, and that is Omkara Vichara and Atma Vichara. And afterwards Upanishad started the inquiry with the Atma Vichara from 3 to 6, 3 to 7 you can say. And then from 8 to 12 will be Omkara Vichara, 4 matras of Omkara, 3 matras and a matra. 3 to 7 is 4 padas of the Atma. That's how they are equated. Omkara is everything. Everything is Atma. Everything is Brahman, that is Atma. I am Atma, Brahman, therefore everything is Atma. Everything is Atma means everything is you. Please understand this. This class will become, can become, not will become, can become in Nididhyasanam for you. If you understand that you are just pure consciousness, and therefore you are not knower as such. You are a knower of the knower. That is consciousness. You know the very knower. You know that you are seeing, you know you are a seer right now, you know you are a hearer right now, etc. That is Sākṣī, that is pervading all Ahankara, Jagatkarta, every. We discussed anyway. And therefore, this class can become. Yeah. So, First it said in the first mantra everything is Omkara, right? And then in the second mantra it says Sarvam Brahma, Sarvami Etat Brahma. Okay. No, I am Atma Brahma. Therefore everything is Atma. Because Atma happens to be Brahman. That's nature. Atma happens to be Ahankara. That's a role. That's a simple empirical reality. That's not you really, because it comes and goes. Jagrata waker comes and goes, and the deep sleeper comes and goes, and a dreamer comes and goes. But you are very much there in all the three states, which is there with the recognition that I only slept and I only dreamt, and now that I only is waking as a waker also. And therefore that I, hold on to that I, which is pervading all the three states. And all the three states do not really belong to Atma also. All the three states belong to mind only. So we'll discuss that. External consciousness, internal consciousness, and as though no consciousness, etc. All because that's due to Antakarana. Antakarana resolves, you feel that there is no consciousness. You're right? There is no sense of even an individual being also. I am a conscious being. That kind of a thing also is not there. That's a deep sleep state. So all this consciousness, the division in the consciousness is due to mind, which is mithya, and therefore the division is mithya, and therefore the waker is mithya, external consciousness is mithya, etc. Internal consciousness is mithya. Because there is no external and internal in consciousness, because it's a prajnana, it is one consciousness which is whole. In a whole there cannot be external and internal. Anyway, so all the three states belong to Antakarana, mithya. And therefore, and that has been discussed, padas have been discussed, all the three states, right? 3 to 6, we are in the 6th now. But we should remember the third mantra discusses the waker and the waking world. Waker-waking world division also is due to Ahankara only, that is due to mind only. And then, so consciousness along with this mind becomes Ahankara, and identifying with that mind, it says I am a knower and everything else is a known. That division also arises. It's mithya division, but that arises. Dvaitam arises. So waker and the waking world also is pervaded by the consciousness, and therefore now waking world we will, along with the consciousness, we will call Virāt. And the waker's body, etc., mind, senses, etc., with this gross body, identifying with the same consciousness, identifying with this, is called Viśva. So Viśva and Virāt, pervaded by same consciousness, and the consciousness is reality. Viśva, Virāt, that is the first pada of the Atma, first quarter of the Atma, you can say. We can call it in short as a external consciousness. External means as though going out and contacting the world. Without consciousness, where is world to contact? And therefore, ultimately, consciousness alone contacts as though going out. So, through the mind, the vritti goes out. You know very well, we have seen all these things. Vritti, antakarana vritti, the entire antakarana also doesn't go out. It's like, the torch. The torch you hold on, you keep in your hand, and a beam of light goes out, which illumines the object which is in front. So Antakarana is like a torch. It's right, it will be here, but the vritti is like a beam of light, goes out. And definitely Antakarana is in a Jagrata Avastha, of course, is conscious because of the Chidabhasa. So vritti along with the Chidabhasa goes out, and vritti pervades the object, and then the Chidabhasa which is there in the vritti illumines the object. Vritti vyapti, phala vyapti, this is how you know the world. So as a waker, you know the waking world. But ultimately, the waker and the waking world, the Viśva and waker and the waking world, are pervaded by the one consciousness, that there is no division. The division has arisen due to the mind which is in a waking state. And therefore, Viśva Virāt are the first quarter of you, a mithya manifestation of you. called external consciousness. Then the second pada is that is discussed in the fourth mantra, and that is Taijasa and Hiraṇyagarbha. Taijasa because it is self-shining. In the waking world there are other lights, right? It is shining because of consciousness only. Waker is conscious and therefore everything shines because of the waker's chidabhasa, waker's consciousness. But there are external lights, sun and etc., or this light is there, etc. Therefore, their waker is not called self-shining. Ultimately, that is the thing. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. Anyway, so, but waker is not called. Waker is just Viśva, but Taijasa. Because that's a dreamer's light. With that, the entire dream world shines. Yeah. Therefore, it's a self-shining. So, Tejomaya Rupatvat. We have seen that. We have seen in Bhashya. Tejomaya Rupatvat Taijasa. So, the dreamer and the dream world is another part of the Atma. Atma in the form of these two. And then now Ahankara, the mind resolves. And therefore, the resolved Ahankara is called, Prājña. When it resolves, definitely, the waker and waking world, the dreamer and dream world also resolve. Means the entire world resolves. If world resolves into Ishwara, therefore Prājña is called Ishwara. Prājña is Ishwara. That is how it is. Because ultimately Ishwara is a Jagatkarta. That is what we are going to see now. Upādhi and Īśvara, both have been indicated here. Anyway, and so fifth mantra talks about a Prājña, of course. Third mantra talks about Viśva and Vaishvana together, certain Visheshanas of Viśva and certain Visheshanas of the Vaishvanara, Virāt. They have been equated in one mantra. That's Atma's third pada. The Atma alone has a Viśva and Virāt. And the fourth mantra, Atma's second pada, is this Taijasa and Hiraṇyagarbha. And now fifth mantra talks about only Prājña, Visheshanas of the Prājña, the deep sleeper. Deep sleeper is again a mind is resolved. Ahankara is resolved. That's called deep sleeper. But that alone shines, that also shines due to Sākṣī ultimately. But anyway, so that's a deep sleeper is this Ahankara alone. That's Prājña. And equated, basically in the sixth mantra with the Ishwara. And therefore the sixth mantra begins Eshaha. This one, means which we discussed in the fifth one. That one. Eshaha Sarveshvara, etc., etc., etc. So that we have to see now. So Eshaha Sarveshvara. Sarvasya Ishita, we'll see Bhashyam, then I will explain you. So he is the ruler. He is the nimitta karana, etc., of everything. And Sarvajnaha. So he is a Srishtikarta. Therefore Srishti Jnanam should be there, naturally. If he creates everything, then he must have knowledge of everything. And therefore he is Sarvajnaha. The Prājña is a Sarveshvara. Prājña alone is the ruler of, Prājña alone is the nimitta karanam. Prājña alone is the Srishtikarta of everything. And therefore, to be a Srishtikarta, well, he should have a knowledge. Well, then therefore the same Prājña, Yeshaha Sarvajnaha. This Prājña is Sarvajna Ishwara also. And then what? Yeshaha Antaryāmin. This Prājña alone is Antaryāmi. Antaryāmi means one who informs all Sharira, that which makes a thing as a thing. That which is in the form of all Adhisthana Devatas, which obtains in the form of a karma in this body, that is Antaryāmi. So, the prarabdha karma unfolds slowly here because of ultimately the Antaryāmi which is present. Antaha pravishyati. Antaha pravishan, anupravishya yamayati. One which controls everything. One which is in the form of all laws. And that's how in the Vedāntic Upanishad this Antaryāmi Brahmana is there, where Antaryāmi has been defined. Antaryāmi means Ishwara. Antaryāmi should not be taken as a Virāt or Hiraṇyagarbha. He is just Ishwara. So he tat sruštva tadeva anupravishat. He created everything, he became everything, and he entered to keep the thing as it is. Means that's how, while defining this Antaryāmi, just one of the mantra, and I am reading just a translation of that. So, one who obtains in the form of a Pṛthvī, take one thing. One who obtains in the form of a Pṛthvī, one who is not a Pṛthvī, without whom there is no Pṛthvī, who makes the Pṛthvī as it is, etc. So, this is how it is. So, he makes the Pṛthvī as it is. So, entering the Pṛthvī, the gross Pṛthvī, he controls the Pṛthvī. Yamayati. So, he controls Pṛthvī means what? He makes the Pṛthvī Pṛthvī. Pṛthvī's job is what? Pṛthvī's job is to sustain, to nourish and everything. Bas. So, this in the form of law, it pervades that Pṛthvī. And Pṛthvī, and that law, well, basically, which is same Ishwara from the standpoint of law, is looked upon as Adhishthana Devata, Pṛthvī Devata. Pṛthvī Devata doesn't know Antaryāmi. Naturally, they have to know. They are all Jivas. Manifestation of Ishwara alone, but they Jivas. That's how Upanishad says, well, this Indra didn't know who is the Yaksha. And the Agni Devata doesn't know who is this Yaksha. Etc. etc. Vayu Devata doesn't know. Same way, Pṛthvī Devata doesn't know. So who, which obtains in the Pṛthvī, who is not Pṛthvī, definitely. He is just Antaryāmi, which is pure consciousness. Well, and through the Māyā Upādhi becomes Antaryāmi. So therefore he is not just this gross Pṛthvī, without whom there is no Pṛthvī. But if that consciousness, along with this Māyā Upādhi, which is Ishwara, which is Upadāna Karanam of everything, therefore without whom there is no Pṛthvī, and who makes the Pṛthvī Pṛthvī, means order. Please understand, that's called order. We will call it as a physical order right now. Who is in the form of physical order? Who is in the form of laws? Order means law. So Pṛthvī, as long as Pṛthvī is there, Pṛthvī is sustained by this Ishwara, being Upadāna Karanam. Pṛthvī is Pṛthvī, and because of this, it is pervaded by this law, whatever the law, which makes the Pṛthvī to sustain and to nourish it. And therefore, the Ishwara, which is the Upadāna Karanam, which is behind there, which is in the form of laws, and therefore, Pṛthvī doesn't, because of that, Pṛthvī remains Pṛthvī. That's the job of Pṛthvī. And Yam Pṛthvī na Veda. Pṛthvī Devata doesn't know this Antaryāmi. Pṛthvī is ruled by this ruler, Antaryāmi. He doesn't know. They have to know. Devata also have to know. But what is that Devata in the Pṛthvī? That's that intelligent law. So, it's a Vyashti. Means what pervades this Pṛthvī only. So, like that. So, Antaryāmi has been defined like that. Then the Vayu and then Agni. So, entire Antaryāmi Brahmana discusses like this. Take a particular element and it mentions like this. Anyway, so it will be coming in the Bhashya. So this is what the mantra says in general. Let's go to now Bhashyam. And Bhashyam is on the same page number 27. You see in the Bhashyam there is a third line. Eshaha hi sarupavasthaha sarveshwaraha sadhidevikasya vedajatasya sarvasya ishita na etasmat jatyantarbhutah anyesham iva. Simple thing what Bhashyakara says is Sarveshwara means, Esha means this, Prājña is Sarveshwara. Sarveshwara means Sarvasya Ishita is equal to Sarveshwara. So Esha hi Sarveshwara, Esha Prājña. So is Sarupavastha. So this Ishwara now, because Prājña has been already defined, that Prājña is equated here. So the qualities of Ishwara has been narrated here. Eshaha Swarupavastha. Swarupe tishtati iti Swarupavastha. So what is, he remains in his own Swarupa. Means the Upādhi of the Ishwara does not affect Ishwara. Like the Māyā Upādhi. So Māyā Upādhi doesn't affect this Ishwara. Māyā Upādhi is under the control of Ishwara. If Māyā Upādhi becomes the Upādhi by which Ishvara loses his predominance, then he would not be Ishvara. If the Upādhi becomes a predominant, the Upādhi attributes become the attributes of the Atma, Brahman. Upādhi, well, definitely becomes the, if Upādhi is a Pradhanyam, then Upādhi attributes basically become the attributes of the Atma. In that case, that would be Jīva. If Upādhi does not become predominant, means the Upādhi attributes do not become predominant for the same Atma, then he is Ishvara. Therefore, well, definitely he is Ishvara because he is independent. There is no spell of Māyā on him. That's how Prakrutim Swam Adhishthaya Sambhavami Atma Māyaya, Bhagavan said. Prakrutim Swam Prakrutim Adhishthaya. So, well, I means I, keeping the Prakriti under my control, I come into being, Sambhavami, I come into the being. Bhagavan discusses about his own avatar also. So, Prakritim Swam Adhishthaya. So, basically, the Upādhi is there. That's because Ishvara. So, Ishvara is Brahman, but so we are equated. We are equating Eshaha Prājña with a Āvaraṇa Upādhi, with a Karana Upādhi, and this Ishvara with a Māyā Upādhi. Ultimately, both are one Atma alone. That's how they are equated. But anyway, so but here one Prakriti alone. Please understand, both have no difference. One Upādhi, same Upādhi, and Upādhi is called Prakriti. Triguna is a Upādhi. Only thing is when it is Vishuddha Sattva, then Vishuddha Sattva Prakriti, then we say that is the Upādhi of Ishvara. And Malina Sattva Prakriti is the Upādhi for the Jīva. Same Brahman appears as a Ishvara and Jīva. So basically here the Malina Sattva Upādhi, basically because Malina, so it affects Brahman as though. There is a predominance of Upādhi. Attributes of the Upādhi are the attributes of taken as attributes of Jīva. Jīva is Brahman, same. So that's how this is a different. And Vishuddha Sattva Upādhi, well, of the Ishvara. Well, Ishvara is not. Means Ishvara has this. What are the attributes of the Upādhi? Attributes of the Upādhi are this Sarvajñatvam, Sarveshwaratvam, Antaryāmitvam, etc. Of that Ishvara. Well, that is with that those Upādhi attributes do not affect the Ishvara, because Ishvara knows that I am Brahman, Sarvajña. So he knows himself also. I'll be coming to that, don't worry. So both are basically the difference between these two, Prājña and Ishvara, is the Āvaraṇa, the Karana Sharira, and due to Karana Sharira there is the ignorance of oneself as a Brahman. Jīva doesn't know that I am Brahman. That Āvaraṇa makes a difference between these two. Ishvara knows I am Brahman. Jīva doesn't know I am Brahman. Why? Because affected by the attributes of the Upādhi. So predominance of the Upādhi, that's a Jīva. Predominance of no predominance of the Upādhi or no predominance of the attributes of the Upādhi, that is Ishvara. So anyway, so both are ultimately Avyakrita only. In Avyakrita there is no difference between Samashti Vyashti also. Jīva and Ishvara both no difference at all. When we say, well, this Jīva, the waker and deep dreamer, etc., resolves, that's a deep sleeper. And then when it resolves, that Srishti also resolves. As though. So therefore everything resolves into Ishvara. And therefore in the Vyakrita Avastha, in unmanifest state, you cannot find a division between Vyashti, Samashti, etc. They are one alone. And the division is in form of just ignorance on the part of a same Brahman who appears as a Jīva now. It's a Prājña. So with Māyā Upādhi he becomes Ishvara because he has no Sarupa Jnana. With the Māyā Upādhi, without Antakarana Apeksha, he is a Sarvajña also. He doesn't have Apeksha of the Antakarana also. Antakarana Apeksha is there, Vritti Apeksha is there. Vritti Apeksha means depending upon the Vritti only gains Jnanam. If Vritti doesn't arise, no Jnanam. then that indicates that definitely there is a ignorance, and that ignorance is Upādhi of Jīva. So Jīva has a apeksha of a vritti in order to know. If vritti apeksha is not there, means there is no ignorance on the part of Ishwara, Sarvajña. Could you follow? That's how he is a Ishwara. Ishwara has a Sarvajñatvam because he doesn't require a Antakarana Upādhi. Karana Upādhi only gives Antakarana Upādhi, Sukshma Sharira. He doesn't require. Why he doesn't require? Because Sarvajña. If vritti apeksha is there, therefore, definitely ignorance is there. That is Jīva. That's Upādhi. Anyway. So, vritti apeksha jnanam implies ignorance prior to vritti. That's not true for Ishvara, therefore he is a Sarvajña. Ishvara is defined like that. So, in order to know, vritti is required. Antakarana is required. Then definitely he is not Sarvajña. So, same Ishvara, same Brahman, with this Ajnana Upādhi, has a vritti apeksha. Antakarana also is required. So, Antakarana, then identification with the Antakarana, etc. And therefore he becomes a knower, Ahankara, etc. And definitely, Srushti, also, so basically what happens is, so Srushti also necessarily, when you want to create, definitely you should have a knowledge. You should have a knowledge. Now, but then definitely if he doesn't have a apeksha of the knowledge, to gain knowledge and then create, if he doesn't have the apeksha, therefore Srushti has to be there before also. Could you follow? Srushti, you create this. Before that, what you should have? You should have a knowledge. Means if you have already knowledge, then there is no need of the creation. First you need a knowledge and then you create. Otherwise you cannot create this. Well, on the part of Ishvara with the Māyā Upādhi, definitely, if he doesn't need that knowledge, if he needs knowledge, he is ignorant. If he doesn't need a knowledge, then definitely he is a Sarvajña, and therefore the Srushti must have been there. And Srushti must have been there in the form of knowledge. All that is there is knowledge of Ishvara. There is no other Upadana. All that is there is just as like your creation of which you create in a dream is nothing but your own knowledge, nothing else. There is no other material, some kind of a material comes in some trucks, etc. Nothing. All is there is your own knowledge. You are the nimitta karanam, you are upadana karanam also. Your knowledge is upadanam, and as a conscious being, you as a waker, you create also the dream. Anyway. So, in order to be Srishtikarta, definitely Bhagavan is Sarvajña and he is Māyā Upādhi. And therefore he is a Swatantra also. With Ajnana Upādhi, same Brahman is Jīva, then he is a Paratantra, definitely. So, now see the Tikakara says something. So, Sarupa Bhut, you can see in this Ānandgiri, 7th line. Sarupavasthatvam Upādhi Pradhanyam Avadhuya Chaitanya Pradhanyam. Sarupavastham indicates one who abides in his own Sarupa. Means one who knows himself. Therefore, then definitely the Upādhi has no predominance. Attributes of the Upādhi has no predominance. Whereas in the case of Jīva, it is what? He is not Sarupavasthaha. He doesn't know himself that he is the Brahman, etc. Therefore, Upādhi has a predominance. Ignorance has a predominance here. All the attributes of the ignorant Upādhi has a predominance, you can say. Anyway, so Sarupavasthatvam Upādhi Pradhanyam Avadhuya. So Upādhi Pradhanyam, predominance of the Upādhi Avadhuya means negating that. Chaitanya Pradhanyam. Right? That is Ishwara. Anyatha Swatantra Anupapattehe. Otherwise there will not be any Swatantra. There is no independence. And therefore he will lose Swatantra. He will lose the independence. Like the Jīva is totally dependent upon the Upādhi. Jīva has a Paratantra. Jīva has a dependence. Dependence in terms of even knowing also. He doesn't know everything and therefore he has to depend on the definitely Upādhi, Antaryāmin, etc. And therefore, if that kind of a Paratantra is there, he also needs a Upādhi in order to know, etc., and to do things and all. Then in that case, he is not a Swatantra. Therefore, we should not call him a Ishwara. So that's how it says, Anyatha Swatantra Anupapatte. There will Anupapatte means, Anupapatti means a tenability, reasonability. So if Upādhi Pradhanyam is there, no Swatantra. Upādhi Pradhanyam is not there, then definitely Chaitanya Pradhanyam means he knows himself, so he is a Sarvajña, etc. And therefore he is a Swatantra, basically. His knowledge alone manifests in the form of the entire creation. It's not that you should know something and then you create something and all that. The Jiva is totally dependent. First he should gain a proper knowledge. Then only another Paratantra is to create. To create, you have a knowledge of how to create. You need a material. Again, dependency. Nothing. Srishti is very much there. So, for Srishti doesn't require knowledge also. Because all knowledge. He knows himself, he knows everything. His knowledge alone manifests in the form of this entire creation. This is how Abhinna Nimitta Upadana. His knowledge is a Upadana Karanam, and as a conscious being, he is a Nimitta Karanam. So, Srishti Karta, Nimitta Karanam. Srishti Sthiti Laya Karta, Upadana Karanam. So, we should remember this. Srishti Karta, just a creator, Nimitta Karanam. But Srishti Sthiti Laya Karta, well, definitely. So, then it is a Upadana Karanam. So, anyway, this will be coming. So, Sarupa Avastha means abiding in its own Sarupa, and Upādhi Pradhanyam, Avadhuya negating Upādhi Pradhanyam, Chaitanya Pradhanyam. Jīvan Mukta also. Now let me come to that. Jīvan Mukta also is Sarvajña. Right? Because there is, here also now, Upādhi is there. Upādhi is Anadi. And so long as Prarabdha is there, this Upādhi is there. Karana Sharira is there. Karana Sharira Pradhanyam is not there. Could you follow now? This is very technical things. So both are same. Both are same. So that's how he is called Sarvajña. He knows everything. Sarvam hi etad Brahma, I am Atma Brahma. I am everything. Means he knows everything. Means this is nothing but the self. The truth of this is me. He may not be knowing the details of the name and form. What is the weight of this? Somebody, what is the weight of this which you are holding? Let me find out a balance, weight balance, etc. What is the material out of this it is used? I have no idea. And then who has manufactured? I have no idea. Etc. Could you follow? Thousands of details in a name and form, Sarvavit, is not there. But this is nothing but Asti Bhati Priyam or Satchidananda is known. Sarvam hi etad Brahma. All that is there is Brahman. That Brahman is the self. And therefore I can say, I am everything. So he is Sarvajña. He knows this thing essentially. He knows this thing essentially. He knows the body essentially. He knows in truth, what is the truth of everything. That is the self. Therefore, even Jīvan Mukta also is called Sarvajña. We call Ishwara Sarvajña because Upādhi Pradhanyam is not there. Upādhi is under his control. Swamadhisthaya. Jīvan Mukta also, Upādhi Pradhanyam is not there. The Āvaraṇa has gone. Āvaraṇa has gone. That's what I am saying you. The Āvaraṇa. What is the Āvaraṇa? Āvaraṇa means not knowing. What is not knowing? Oh, I am Brahman. I am not Brahman. I am Jīva. Jīva is a Vikshepa. I am not Brahman. I am not Jagatkarta. That is called Āvaraṇa. That is so due to Upādhi Pradhanyam. Upādhi Pradhanyam. Attributes of the Upādhi becomes as though attributes of the Atma. Therefore you say, I am ignorant. I am not Brahman. I don't know Brahman, etc. etc. I don't know Brahman is the self. And then Vikshepa also will be there. And that is, I am Jīva. When you say I am Jīva, again Upādhi Pradhanyam. I am so and so. Upādhi Pradhanyam. I am a human being, Upādhi Pradhanyam. I am male, Upādhi Pradhanyam. I am a seer, hearer, Upādhi Pradhanyam. I am hungry, thirsty, Upādhi Pradhanyam. I am angry, I am this, Upādhi Pradhanyam. Could you follow? Yeah. And when you say that Upādhi Pradhanyam, well, created duality also. For the whole world is different from me. I am this. So Dvaitam is created is ultimately due to Upādhi Pradhanyam, because ultimately the Upādhi, the Karana Upādhi, Āvaraṇa is responsible. The Āvaraṇa goes away, you say I am Sarvajña. Therefore, basically this Jivan Mukta also, Upādhi is still there, but still Pradhanyam has gone. Focus is only on Atma. So therefore Jivan Mukta does not impute the attributes of the Upādhi or on the Atma. Or he doesn't take the attributes of the Upādhi, this better. He doesn't take the attributes of the Upādhi as the attributes of oneself. I am free from attributes. He knows very well. I am Nirgunam Brahma. And therefore, he doesn't identify with the Upādhi. Upādhi remains as a Mithya Upādhi. Mithya means remains, but it doesn't enjoy independent status. Because I am the one who lends existence to Upādhi, called body, mind, senses and everything, and the world. Drashti Srushti, please remember that. So Sarvajña is a Ishwara and and he also can say I am Sarvajña. Only difference between Ishwara and this Jivan Mukta is basically that Sarvavit. So Sarvavit means he has a Moola Jnanam. Moola means he has a knowledge of the self, but Tula Jnanam is not there. Tula Jnanam. The details of anything is not there. Details of what? Details of name and form. That is not there. He may not be knowing French. Ishwara is a Sarvavit also. Yes, Sarvajña, Sarvavit, etc., etc. Mundaka Mantra, remember that. And therefore, people have time to call at this time. Anyway. So since the Moola Jnanam has gone, or you can say Moola Jnanam. Moolam means the self. That is the Moolam. That's the Karanam of everything. That is known for him. So Sarvajña means Sarvam Janati is to be taken purely from the standpoint of a Vastu, Brahman, from the self. And Sarvavit means Visheshena Sarvam Janati. Well, that is, he alone knows with the Vishesha. So same Brahman with that Māyā Upādhi, Mithya Upādhi of course, well, he becomes Sarvavit, because Māyā alone manifests in the form of all unmanifest names and forms, which is in the form of a knowledge. Well, this Parameshvara has. That's how Parameshvara, or the same Atma, Brahman, is called Ishwara with all knowledge, and that alone manifest. Therefore, Ishwara is a Sarvajña, of course, and Sarvavit. But this our Jnani, Jivan Mukta, he knows I am Brahman, and therefore I am Brahman, and therefore I am everything. Therefore I know everything. What is this? I know. What is that? Atma. What is that? Atma. What the difference is in terms of Upādhi? And that Māyā Upādhi, because of that, well, Ishvara becomes Sarvavit also. He knows along with the Vishesha. Vishesha of names and forms. So our Jivan Mukta also has no self-ignorance, and Upādhi attributes do not affect him. And therefore this Prājña ultimately is not separate from that Parameshvara. Atma ekatvat, same self. Upādhi ekatvat, Prakriti Upādhi, Triguna Upādhi only. Only difference is Vishuddha Sattva, Malina Sattva. That's it. But Vishuddha Sattva, Prakriti. Vishuddha Sattva means all this, where the gunas, other gunas, Rajoguna, etc. do not affect Vishuddha Sattva. Or Rajoguna, Tamaguna will also become a predominant at times, even though Sattva also is there. Then we call Malina Sattva. But same Prakriti. Therefore, Upādhi ekatvat also, you can say, essentially. And otherwise, even as a Prājña in a deep sleep state, it's one Upādhi. in Avyakta, you cannot find a difference between Vyashti Upādhi, Karana Sharira and Māyā Upādhi. Vyashti Upādhi, Vyashti Samashti Bheda occurs in a waking state, in a dream state, not in a deep sleep state. It's all one. It's all one. The entire creation and this, the one who experiences the creation, everything resolves. So, and also we can say Gnatru Gneya and Gnata, Gnata Gneya and Gnana Bheda also is not there in that avastha. And therefore, Prājña is Ishwara. Only Prājña. Please remember, Swamiji, but then Jivan Mukta sleeps, then also he will not have a, he will also have Āvaraṇa. No, definitely not. Jivan Mukta, once he knows that I am everything, right? I am the cause of everything, naturally. Sarvam hi etad Brahma, and I am Atma Brahma, and therefore, but then so am Atma Chatur. But then, so basically this Atma alone is Brahman. Brahman is Jagatkaranam. Well, Brahman is Jagatkaranam through the Māyā Upādhi. Well, I am also Brahman, therefore I am also Jagatkaranam. I am also Jagatkaranam. Māyā is a Mithya Upādhi, and therefore definitely I am also Jagatkaranam. I alone pervade everything. I am the truth of everything. I lend existence to everything. I am, therefore everything is. Could you follow? That's a Karanam. That's a real Karanam, which lends existence to the entire world of effects. That's a real cause. The definition of cause is which lends existence to the effect. Yeah. And therefore, ultimately, if Jivan Mukta knows that, well, he sleeps, then he will have an Āvaraṇam so far as Stula, this pervading to the Jagat. But he knows himself. When he wakes up, he says the same thing, I am the cause of the world. When he goes to the bed, he says, I am the cause of the world. And therefore, Moola Ajñānam, Āvaraṇam has already gone. Please remember this. That's how he is called Sarvagnya. If Sarvagnya is there, Swamiji, he doesn't know in a deep sleep state. Don't think that way. Just Āvaraṇa, Karana, Upādhi is there, Mithya Upādhi is there, and therefore, well, in a deep sleep state, he will not be able to say that this is this, etc. But he knows that the knower and the known, everything is just me alone. So that Āvaraṇa has gone. And therefore, he can say, I am Ishwara, cause of the world. And our whole teaching is to remove this Āvaraṇa, basically. Vastu Agrahanam is there, and Ishwara does not have a Vastu Agrahanam. Anyatha Grahanam also is not there. And Anyatha Grahanam exists for a Jivan Mukta as a Mithya. So Jivatvam is Mithya. Anyatha Grahanam, Vikshepa is Mithya. Creation is Mithya. That's it. Anyatha Grahanam is not there. Agrahanam also is not there. Ishwara. Sarvagnya Sarvavit. Anyatha Grahanam is as a Mithya. Agrahanam is not there. Anyatha Grahanam is there as a Mithya. That's a Jivan Mukta. Could you follow what I am saying? And why you are using this word? It is coming. Vastu Agrahanam. Agrahanam means not knowing. Āvaraṇa. That is gone. Vastu Anyatha Grahanam. Anyatha Grahanam is there. Anyatha Grahanam means this Vikshepa. The Jīva and the Jagat. Ahankara and the Jagat. The knower and the known. And the knowledge. All Triputi exist as a Mithya. I am that Jnanam. I am that Chaitanyam. Well, all these three are Adhyaropa only. So, that Kinchit Bhavam, you can say. They are Vastu. Anyatha Grahanam is there, but as a Mithya. Anyatha Grahanam is there as a real. That's a Samsari, Ajnani. Āvaraṇa has not gone. Vastu Agrahanam will be there, then Vastu Anyatha Grahanam also will be there. Vastu Agrahanam gone, then Anyatha Grahanam will be Mithya. It doesn't get destroyed. Today only we discuss in Panchadashi, in 13th chapter. Anyway. Eshaha Prājñah Sarupavastha Sarvasya Īśvara. Sarvasya Īśvara. Bhashyakara. So Sarveshwara word, he explained like that. So, and he further says, Sadhi Daivikasya Vedajatasya Sarvasya Īśvara. Sarveshwara. He explained. So, Sādidevikasya Bhedajatasya, the entire host of, entire world of, all the Bheda, all duality, all its duality, the Jagat means, and Sādidevikasya Bhedajatasya, along with the intelligent laws. The creation has come, and then creation has come along with that law. And the creation is sustained by law. Creation resolves by law. The sun has come into manifestation, creation, along with the law. So, that's called Adidevikam. So, Adibhautikam means that sun glow, but that is functioning intelligently. That's called Adidevata, Surya Devata. That intelligent law is there. Otherwise, it will. What is the use of creation? So, along with the creation, it comes with the Devata, Adhishthan Devata. And therefore, Sādidevikasya Bhedajatasya. So, the entire world, with all its duality, the Jagat, along with the Adidevika, Bhedajatasya Jagataha Īśita. Well, the entire physical and this Sukshma world, along with this, with the Viśva, Virāt and Hiraṇyagarbha and all that, well, is the Īśita, is the Nimitta Karanam. Who? Ishwara. Who? Prājña. So, Īśita means Ishwara, Māyā Upādhi, Mithya Upādhi. Ishwaratvam is Mithya. That is what the Mandukya says. You can imagine your first pada is the Virāt Purusha and Viśva both. Anyway, so therefore, ultimately that Brahman, the Atma, because everything is Brahman. Everything is Brahman. And therefore, the whole creation and all that is you. Therefore, definitely, that Īśita, that Nimitta Karanam, through Upādhi, of course, looks Nimitta Karanam, but is ultimately Eshaha, Prājña. So, Sarveshwara is you in reality. So, this Eshaha, we should not gloss over. Eshaha means all the time you have to say, I am Prājña. That we are talking about what? Deep sleep state, in which this Prājña is there. Right? So, Adhyatmika Prājña alone is this Adidevika Ishwara. Iti Eshaha. Na etasmat jatyantara bhutah. That we have to explain now. And so, here, our Ānandgiri says in that 7th line, Naiyayikādayastu tātasthyam Īśvarasya ātishtante tad ayuktam patyuhu asamanjasyat iti nyaya virodhat iti aha na etasmat. What is there is Sarvasya Īśita is up to Sarveshwara in the Bhashya. That's the definition. Sarveshwara has been defined as a Sādidevikasya Bhedajatasya Sarvasya Īśita. Right? And then further, na etasmat jatyantara bhutaha anyeshamiva. Further explain. The Ishwara, the description of Ishwara in a Vedanta, which is quite unlike in other darshanas. Na anyeshamiva. So that is, we have to understand. And that is been clarified here as this Naiyayikas, etc. Naiyayikādayastu tātasthyam Īśvarasya ātishtante. So, Naiyayikas. And also, which Naiyayika accepts Ishwara as a Jagatkarta. So, even though we have a Sarveshwara, which is Jagatkarta, Nimitta Karanam, and they also say Nimitta Karanam, but there is a big difference. That's what going to be explained here. And therefore, it says here, Naiyayikas, etc., and the Seshwar Sankhyas. Sankhya do not accept Ishwara as a Jagatkarta. Sankhya say Prakriti is a Kartri of the creation. Purusha is basically Asanga. He is a Bhokta. So Purusha is just a Bhokta, and he enjoys various pleasures created by the Prakriti. Prakriti and Purusha are two independent principles. That is a Sankhya. and they don't accept Ishwara as a Jagatkarta, and therefore they are majority of them are Nirishwara Sankhyas. Seshwara Sankhya, but there are Sankhyas which accept Ishwara as a Jagatkarta. Even yoga people, in a Yoga Sutra, Patanjali defines Ishwara. And Patanjali also defines Jīva. But if you see the definition of Jīva and Īśvara described in a Yoga Sutra, there Ishwara is not defined as a Jagatkarta. Amazing. Generally, Ishwara means Jagatkarta. But even Patanjali also, describe Ishwara with the exalted gunas and Jiva with the definitely inferior gunas. That's how the definition is of the Jīva and Īśvara. One which is, let me tell you, one who is free from pancha klesha is Ishwara. One who is endowed with pancha klesha, avidya, asmita, etc., is a Jiva. Anyway, so majority of the Sankhya and Yoga, they are the twin brothers. So the philosophy of the Patanjali is basically philosophy borrowed from the Sankhyas only. But there is a group of Sankhya's who believe in Ishwara, Seshwara Sankhya. Naiyayikas, of course, also believe that Ishwara is a Jagatkarta. So, that Jagatkarta Ishwara means who is a Nimitta Karan, who creates the world, who creates Jiva, etc. That is called Tatastha Ishwara. That's how it says here. What? Nayayika dayastu Tatastham Ishwarasya Atishtante. Means they accept that kind of a Ishwara. Tatastha Ishwara. And therefore, so therefore they believe he is a Nimitta Karanam, etc. What we say is going to be said is this Jiva is also, this Prājña is Ishwara. And therefore, if Ishwara is a Jagatkarta, Ishwara is a Jivakarta, creates Jagat and Jiva, definitely Jiva and Ishwara are different. Which is, if that is the thing, it is quite different from Vedanta, because in Vedanta we equate this Jiva, the Prājña, as Ishwara. So there is no difference. Please understand. Prājñaha Ishvaraha. Therefore, he is Bhashyakara says, so, na etasma jatyantara bhutaha anyeshamiva. Anyesham is Naiyayikas, etc. The way they describe Ishwara as the Karta, Srishti Karta of the Jagat and Jiva, and therefore Jiva and Ishwara cannot be the one. Well, what is created is different, and the creator is different. Well, that is not the case here. That is what he is explaining. Anyway. So basically, Eshaha, in our case, Eshaha eva Sarveshwaraha, Eshaha Prājña eva Sarvagnaha, etc., etc. And at the waking level, of course, this person is Ishwara, even though at the mental level also is Ishwara, because everything is Brahman, everything is the self, and therefore in all the states what is there is oneself or the Ishwara, Brahman, but the division appears in a waking state. In a deep sleep state, the division resolves. But as the consciousness identifies with this, or Atma identifies with the one Upādhi called Antakarana, then definitely division starts. And he becomes a knower, and everything else in the world becomes known, etc. The knower-known division also starts. Gnatru Gneya Bheda also starts. And also further identifies with the body also in a waking state also. Anyway, even though all that is there is one Atma, but the division appears. So, and therefore it indicates what? Veshti Āvaraṇa is there. Because identifying with the Antakarana becomes knower, everything else becomes known. Or identifying with the gross body, of course, waker. And therefore, Āvaraṇa is there, identifying with that. Well, he takes himself to be Omkara, knower, and everything else becomes knower. The division also appears. So, Veshti Samashti Bheda continues in both the states, which is Mithya, of course, but it continues. It's Upādhi Veda only. Same consciousness, right? you see from one standpoint, from the body exists, consciousness exists, right? Body exists, consciousness means body is because consciousness is. Take this way, prana is, consciousness is. Then hunger, thirst is, consciousness is. And then the sense organs are, consciousness is. The power of the sense organ is, consciousness is. The thought is, consciousness is. Memory is, consciousness is. Emotion is, consciousness is. And like that, perception is, consciousness is. And therefore, ultimately, I am the consciousness which lends existence to so-called Upādhi. And therefore, if Āvaraṇa is there, not knowing that I am just a consciousness which reveals everything and lends existence, I identify with that, becomes a waker. And waker is taken as a real, and the waking world is taken different from me. This kind of a division also will arise. So the division is due to Upādhi, which is of course mithya. But if Āvaraṇa is there, the Upādhi, identification with the Upādhi and is taken real, and therefore ultimately the division of the knower, known, etc. also will be real. So even though it is mithya, but it is taken as a real. So anyway, so this Ṭīkākara's explanation, etc. means regarding what is the Naiyayikas say and how do we refute them. They take as a Srishtikarta, etc. and how, what kind of a dosha will be there. And in order to avoid those doshas, we take the help of a Shruti which reveals that the Jīva and Īśvara are not two different things. Jīva is essentially Īśvara. Or Jīva-Īśvara Bheda is mithya. Upādhi Bheda, mithya, etc. And that is what is equated here also. And Bhashyakara quotes a Chandogya Shruti where it is very clearly told that Jiva is basically non-separate from Brahman, Ishwara. And so this particular mantra talks about the equation between these two also is real. And therefore Naiyayika is Ishwara. Just Srishti Karta we cannot accept. Whatever is there also is Ishwara in terms of Upadana also. And therefore there cannot be any Veda, etc. So that we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.